Well, hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. This is Leo Infernal, hoping that you all are doing well. In this video, playing a new game called Dagon by H.P. Lovecraft, made by developer Golem. The game was released on September 2021, and this is the first game I'm playing here on this channel made by this developer. It's first game in the Dagon series, as there are two DLCs. Each one has like another short story like this one. And the game can be found on Steam. For game description on Steam, which you can skip it if you feel that it will ruin discovering the game. Face unspeakable horrors. Succumb to madness. Welcome to free demonic narrative experience inspired by H.P. Lovecraft. Dagon is a 3D narrative experience in madness based on the cult short story of the same title by the master of cosmic horror and weird fiction, H.P. Lovecraft himself. It's an interactive portal into the world of the controversial genius and his highly acclaimed Cthulhu Mythos, open to both newcomers and long-time devotees. Regarding music in this game, it has been created by Dark Fantasy Studio and Nicolas, Jeudy, Evil Mind, Mouse Station Productions, and AudibleDread. For age restriction, there is no rating for this game that can be found on HRP RPG, so I'll give my expected rating as this is a horror game, so it will be 70 plus or aim for mature, or 16 plus, including my content warning seen on screen. That being said, let's get started. So, options. Should I keep motion blur? Let's keep it. Start. Dagon is a faithful, interactive adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's work, focused on story and atmosphere. You will not find difficult choices, action sequence, or inventory management here, and movement is limited to progressing through locations along with the plot.
I am writing this under an appreciable mental strain, since by tonight I shall be no more.
During the game, you encounter interactive elements. Some of them will allow you to continue your journey, others reveal interesting facts about the original short story, its historical background, and the author. Okay, circle and small leaves, question marks. Some of the trivia is hidden. In order to find these secrets, focus your eyes and look for the Elder sign. Also, right click to zoom in. This is not the... Oh. Okay, Lovecraft's letters. As to letters, my case is peculiar. I write such things exactly as easily and as rapidly as I would utter the same topics in conversation. Indeed, epistolary expression is with me largely replacing conversation as my condition of nervous prostration become more and more acute. I cannot bear to talk much now, and I'm becoming as silent as the spectator himself. My loquacity extends itself on paper. Okay, wow. H.P. Lovecraft to Reinhard Kleiner, December 23rd, 1970. Through his life, Lovecraft penned around 100,000 letters to his friends and fans, out of which about 10% survive to this day. Only 10%. But his tendency to endless correspondence was a relatively late growth. In US, I scarcely did any letter writing, thanking anybody for present was so much of an ordeal that I would rather have written a 250-line pastoral or 20-page treatise on the rings of Saturn. Selected Letters 1929-1931 H.P. Lovecraft. Lovecraft would often skip meals to afford postage. Collections of his correspondence have been published in various books, and selected letters can be found online. Some readers consider them his most important legacy. Wow. Would be more of this? You can read this discovered trivia immediately or go back to them later in the main menu. Turn off displaying trivia if you find that the feature distracts you from the story. This can be changed anytime in the options. Okay, let's keep them. I will move fast, or I don't know, maybe read them all. The thing is, why all capital letters? It's a little bit hard for me, I don't know why, to read word with capital letters. I feel it's stretched more than it should be. Okay, let's keep them. We can't move all 360 view. Okay, so zoom in. See any other items. Okay, no.
Penniless, and at the end of my supply of the drug which alone makes life endurable, I can bear the torture no longer, and shall cast myself from this garret window into the squalid street below. Do not think from my slavery to morphine that I am a weakling or a degenerate. When you have read these hastily scrawled pages, you may guess, though never fully realize, why it is that I must have forgetfulness or death.
Okay, so some items would be easy seen without zoom in. The elder sign, what they say. Okay, morphine. Morphine entered into use in the 19th century and was routinely administered to treat severe pain during the American Civil War, 1861, 1865, and World War I, 1914, 1980. It was also sold without restriction until 1914. Morphine became more popular after the invention of the hypodermic syringe around 1854. Frederick Struner, who first isolated the substance, originally named it morphium after Morpheus, the Greek god associated with dreams. At the time when Dagon was published, morphine abuse, known as soldier's disease, already posed a big problem in the United States. I don't mind short notes like this.
It was in one of the most open and least frequented parts of the broad Pacific that the packet of which I was supercargo fell a victim to the German sea raider.
Lovecraft and Great War. Dagon was written around the months after the United States entered World War I. Lovecraft was actively interested in its course. He composed many poems in which he gave encouragement to soldiers and commented on events unfolding in Europe. He tries to enlist it in the army, which he mentioned in one of his letters to Reinhard Kleiner. But even though he passed the physical exam, his mother prevented him from going to the war. She had threatened to go to any lengths, legal or otherwise, if I don't reveal all the ills which unfit me for the army, Providence, the life and the time of H.P. Lovecraft, St. Josie. South of Gore, oppressed by my entire usefulness in the world, I resolved to attempt enlightenment despite my almost invalid condition. I argue that if I choose a regiment soon to be depart from France, my sheer nervous force, which not inconsiderable, might sustain me till a bullet or piece of shrapnel could more conclusively and effectively dispose of me. Letters Reinhard Kleiner, H.P. Lovecraft.
The Great War was then at its very beginning, and the ocean forces of the Hun had not completely sunk to their later degradation. So that our vessel was made a legitimate prize, whilst we of her crew were treated with all the fairness and consideration due us as naval prisoners.
The Huns. The Huns were Central Asian nomads who established a dominion in Europe and invaded the Roman Empire in the 5th century AD. They were known as brutal, deadly warriors and masters of quick raid who also developed powerful composite bow, lassos, and early siege weapons. During World War I, the British used the word Hun as synonym for Germans in order to emphasize their brutality. However, the term originated when the German Empire William II gave speech to his troops on 27th July 1900 before they embarked to China. Souvenirs, the refusal to take prisoners was a clear breach of the laws and customs of war adopted during the First Hague Convention of 1899.
So liberal, indeed, was the discipline of our captors, that 5 days after we were taken, I managed to escape alone, in a small boat, with water and provisions for a good length of time.
Okay, I don't think there is one here.
When I finally found myself adrift and free, I had but little idea of my surroundings. Never a competent navigator, I could only guess vaguely by the sun and stars that I was somewhat south of the equator. Of the longitude, I knew nothing, and no island or coastline was in sight.
Nothing.
The weather kept fair, and for uncounted days I drifted aimlessly beneath the scorching sun, waiting either for some passing ship or to be cast on the shores of some habitable land.
Oh, okay. The Return of Short Stories. Dagon was written in July 1917 and first published in 1919 in The Vagrant, an amateur magazine focused on the supernatural. The story in the first of his stories that introduced an element from the Cthulhu Mythos. Dagon itself, a pagan cult worshipping Dagon later appears in The Shadow over Innsmouth, one of Lovecraft's most popular works. 1917 is also the year when he wrote The Tomb, a story about Jervis Dudley, a daydreamer who discovered a mysterious mausoleum in the woods by his house and become obsessed with it. These two works marked Lovecraft's return to short story writing after he burned most of his attempts at the genre 9 years period and decided to concentrate on poetry. Lovecraft stated that it was his friend William Paul Cook, a literary publisher and critic, who convinced him to start writing weird fiction again. Alright.
But neither ship nor land appeared, and I began to despair in my solitude upon the heaving vastness of unbroken blue. The change happened whilst I slept. Its details I shall never know.
What's going on?
For my slumber, though troubled and dream-infested, was continuous.
Nothing.
When at last I awoke, it was to discover myself half sucked into a slimy expanse of hellish black mire, which extended about me in monotonous undulations as far as I could see, and in which my boat lay grounded some distance away. Though one might well imagine that my first sensation would be of wonder at so prodigious and unexpected a transformation of scenery, I was in reality more horrified than astonished. For there was in the air, and in the rotting soil, a sinister quality which chilled me to the very core. The region was putrid with the carcasses of decaying fish, and of other, less describable things which I saw protruding from the nasty mud of the unending plain. Perhaps I should not hope to convey in mere words the unutterable hideousness that can dwell in absolute silence and barren immensity. There was nothing within hearing, and nothing in sight, save a vast reach of black slime. Yet the very completeness of the stillness and the homogeneity of the landscape oppressed me with a nauseating fear. The sun was blazing down from a sky which seemed to me almost black in its cloudless cruelty, as though reflecting the inky marsh beneath my feet.
Wait. Oh. The centipede. Origins of Dagon. Dagon seems to be inspired by Fish Head, a short novel by Irvin S. Coop about unnatural affinities between a hybrid idiot and the strange fish of an isolated lake. Supernatural horror in literature, H.P. Lovecraft. And Lovecraft's dream about strange island emerging from the ocean and him crawling in the ooze that cover its surface. I dream that the whole hideous crawl and can yet feel the ooze sucking me down. In defense of Dagon, H.P. Lovecraft. Lovecraft interest in the topic stemmed from his aversion to fish and sea smells. In his own words, I have hated fish and feared the sea and everything connected with it since I was 2 years old, but I cannot recall what early experience gave me such a profound and lasting aversion to the sea and seafood. The Dweller in Darkness, Lovecraft, 1927, Donald Windry. Sorry butchering the name. Okay. Lovely.
As I crawled into the stranded boat, I realized that only one theory could explain my position.
What is that thing?
Through some unprecedented volcanic upheaval, a portion of the ocean floor must have been thrown to the surface, exposing regions for which innumerable millions of years had lain hidden under unfathomable watery depths. So great was the extent of the new land which had risen beneath me that I could not detect the faintest noise of the surging ocean, straining my ears as I might. Nor were there any seafowl to prey upon the dead things.
Oh, this one is tricky. The mystery of volcanic islands. Volcanic eruptions sometimes result in the creation of islands. Most of them are transient and erode after some time, but some prove permanent. The floating pumic porous rock created when superheated pressured rock is ejected from a volcano can move across long distance and transport particles and macro whatever that is, that clinch to it. In 2001, rafts of pumic created during the eruption of volcano near Tonga, Polynesia, eventually reached Australia. I'll check that. See how far it is. Near Tonga. Okay. Aspecting might be one elder sign. Fair, area, let's call it.
For several hours I sat thinking or brooding in the boat, which lay upon its side and afforded a slight shade as the sun moved across the heavens. As the day progressed, the ground lost some of its stickiness and seemed likely to dry sufficiently for traveling purposes in a short time. That night I slept but little, and the next day I made for myself a pack containing food and water, preparatory to an overland journey in search of the vanished sea and possible rescue.
There's not much space to zoom in, so I guess one has no sign.
On the third morning, I found the soil dry enough to walk upon with ease. The odor of the fish was maddening, but I was too much concerned with graver things to mind so slight an evil, and set out boldly for an unknown goal.
Okay.
All day I forged steadily westward, guided by a faraway hummock which rose higher than any other elevation on the rolling desert.
Why there are creatures like the one in the King Kong movie, when they fall into some kind of swamp-ish?
That night, I encamped, and on the following day still travelled toward the hummock, though that object seemed scarcely nearer than when I had first espied it.
Nothing here as well. Alright.
By the fourth evening, I attained the base of the mound, which turned out to be much higher than it had appeared from a distance. An intervening valley setting it out in sharper relief from the general surface. Too weary to ascend, I slept in the shadow of the hill. I know not why my dreams were so wild that night, but ere the waning and fantastically gibbous moon had risen far above the eastern plain, I was awake in a cold perspiration, determined to sleep no more. Such visions as I had experienced were too much for me to endure again, and in the glow of the moon I saw how unwise I had been to travel by day. Without the glare of the parching sun, my journey would have cost me less energy. Indeed, I now felt quite able to perform the ascent which had deterred me at sunset. Picking up my pack, I started for the crest of the eminence.
Well, I'm gonna end this video here. Hope you have enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and I see you in the next part where we continue the story of Dagon. See how it's gonna end. Stay safe.